Look at this, y'all. Watch what's happening in this sky. You got me stuck. I mean, there's sheets of plasma that go across. I didn't even know that. You got me stuck. What could, look at that, is central points of plasmatic light. I mean, growing up, every science teacher, one of their things they said when they put their ugly ass tie on first thing in the morning, they repeated it with their cereal as they kissed their wife goodbye. Lightning never strikes twice in the same place. When the kids all get sleepy and bored, I'll wake them up with that. Third bell, I'm sure they're all tired and lunches, you know. So folks, everyone's lightning never strikes twice in the city. That would wake me up. Yeah, it does now. Make sure my battery don't die. I'm not being beta tested, I'm being beta throttled. As my right ear just rang, interestingly. The screen just went plasmatically goony goo goo. What is going on up there? What? Yeah, hi Infinite, hi Daniel. Horns going off. Burr. Wow, there's two hawks that have been. Wow. This is a spectacle. It's been so hot. It's been so hot. I've just felt like like I just came out of a wax museum and stepped outside. What's that puddle in the parking lot? Oh, that's just Seven. Can't you tell? It's kind of mocha colored. Big old target on its back. What? Whoa, what? Hey, just went all plasma-y. I could just sit out here and do this with you guys all night. Shoo. I wonder if anybody's looked. Well, I mean, obviously there's some. And I'm telling you, as magnificent as this is, folks, wow, there was just a little light one. There's just stuff up. As much as I'd like to think this is natural, I don't think it is. No rain, no thunder, not a sound. And it hid sunset extremely well. There wasn't a thing to see. And I know, because I was out there, which is part of why I think I'm being beta tested. Oh, plasma, goony goo goo. I've seen blue, purple, red. I saw a red. Why? How's the screen doing that? How is that even goony goo goo? Look at the Wicked Witch of the skies. You got me stuck. No, I'm not going to do this all night. I got notes, copious notes. Oh, there was a record day yesterday on Wall Street. Isn't that wonderful? Look, light, white colors. Yeah, there's a straight line that goes through the sky. And I couldn't ask for a better beginning to my show. Look at that. Focus on something and then they just can't stand sky watchers. I'm telling you, we are public enemy. We really are public enemy number one. We really are. I've been researching the concept of main character syndrome. And I'm careful not to fall into it, but I know my sky is targeted. My life has been targeted. What the hell was that two things that just flashed? Those weren't lightning bugs. My mom passed 2 nights ago in the middle of the night in her sleep. And I know she's playing Behind the Moon. Look at that blue. How is it different colors? Is what always mystifies me. How's the screen doing that? It won't focus. They just don't like Skywalkers. Whatever it is, it's moving slowly across the sky. No rain, no thunder. Just a huge black wall that they brought at sunset. That's all it is. It's clear, right above, and I'm writing a song called She's Behind the Moon, because I know my mom's playing Behind the Moon, not dancing, not singing. Hi Tuds gang, look at this. It's just, I'm no seafaring guy, but look at that. There's a big black triangle right there that's kind of leading the whole. Look at that. That's just pretty. Yeah, this is fake. It'll probably pass over here, and their job will have been done to hide sunset. Where'd that big ass triangle go? There it is. It's still there. And I don't know what all those little flashy thing. No, you can't. 7 minutes and 50 seconds. Different colored lightning. And nobody will notice a thing. Because nobody cares. I don't even care. No, seriously, there's something in the airwaves. I've been doing this for, this channel since 2019, and here I am being politically correct all the time and watching my work. Whatever. DARPA, HARP, they are microwaving our minds. They control everything. Everything. And they're beginning to try to control our thoughts. I'm not sure how. I'm no engineer. I'm no psychologist. I just roll with my gut. Trust my gut. Been outside for 30-something years as a horticulturist. Watching the sky. That's it. That's all there is to it. And I noticed it got different about 2016. And I've been hunting planets ever since. You got me stuck. At least it's not 85 degrees. Whew, it has been hot. Hold on, guys. I gotta get my notes. Just keep saying positive things. Just keep thinking positive thoughts. And avoid the noise. And do your best to squash ego, because something is tuning into, able to link in with, I don't know, our id or who knows. Don't judge. Don't be getting hung up. Get a grip. Don't worry about anybody else's scenario. Hi, sports. Ask my future self. I do, because I'm in touch with at least 2 other 7s. I do. That was AI, and it just probably all of a sudden had its first headache. But I'm 7. Viva México. Sí, güey, Simón que sí. Necesita. Muy importante por México. Aztecos. I know. Mexican people are truly Azteco. And they wouldn't think that a gringo would understand that, but I do. Azteco, Guatemalteco, Salvadoriano. But it's an interesting exchange of information, because I don't tell that to everybody. Ask, well, don't. It's kind of like how beautiful Hispanic people are, how deep their roots go. And we're all learning, sort of in step, aren't we? You're being beta tested. If any way, if how I feel and what I'm up against is any indication of, I'm sure, what many of you are experiencing, the competition, the debating ourselves and our own egos, be sure to start and stop with that, because you can't go wrong. If I'm the problem, then there's so many solutions. If I'm not the problem, then there's no solution. I could sit there and try to change the world, change you, change this coffee cup, change my slippers. Everything's the problem. Isn't that interesting? Nothing will ever change. But if I'm the problem, then I can change everything. I can change. Oh, it's so delicious. That's just delicious. That's amazing. Those of you getting your egos crushed right now, embrace, rejoice, for even in your doldrums, you serve the higher good. The Care Bears are coming. Oh my gosh. Because I am targeted. And I'm not the centrally casted main character of any social media channel or anything. I'm just a skywatcher. Yep. I'm a skywatcher. I'm a skywatcher, and I don't care. That's it. That's all there is to it. Stay true to a couple of simple tenets. Is to believe half what you see and none of what you hear. And I know that my mama's with me, and I know my father is too, because they both loved Ohio and the history of the Shawnee. And my daddy was part Shawnee, and I've seen him at Serpent Mound, which I've been to 3 times. I didn't think that I'd speak to Mom yesterday, or that she'd speak to me, as it were. I kind of thought, well, you need some time to kind of transition or get used to. I don't know. I was kind of walking around there. I cried once. My boss, it's funny, my boss, who's the toughest dude in the world, he pulled up yesterday. I'm always early. I'm sitting by my car. I had just got the news from my big brother. My boss pulls up and he's like, "You okay?" And I just said, my mom passed. And I kind of cried, because he's kind of a father figure to me. And he said, "You can pull it together, get on that dock. It's going to be hot today. You got this?" I said, "Yes, sir," because this is exactly where I need to be to take my mind off of it. But it was interesting to have that one little breakdown and then to realize that as much of a singer and songwriter as she was, and as much as she bridged the barriers between cultures and races all over the world, people would come to see my mother play or come to our little restaurant. It was called Zarabanda. And we'd serve ropa vieja, because my stepfather was from Cali, Colombia. So we would sell food from the Caribbean, from Colombia, from a few places in Ghana and other, but mostly Cuba. It was amazing. We played all kinds of music. We would shut down an entire block in the east side of Cincinnati called Mount Lookout Square, just a whole square. We'd shut the place down just with an international crowd of people that had all shown up at our restaurant just to play music with my mother. And she could speak French and Arabic, Spanish, and of course English. She was amazing. And she fell in love with a black man from the ghettos of Chicago. Her heart was such to reach into the toughest streets in this world and pick out a black man and fall in love with him and have 4 children with him and write music. And she lives on in me. It's incredible. Disclosure's been a joke from Vienna High. Yeah, okay. It's been a real joke. And I think that I love my perspective if I can stay focused. Because I always try to look in the opposite direction of everything that they're glaring and blaring and smashing and crashing. We're all paying for it, interestingly enough. Everything that, whatever they say, I look in the opposite direction. Because all I saw in this year with disclosure was Obama just being way too cool and haphazardly, secondhandedly, nonchalantly, almost boringly having mentioned Area 51. There's nothing down there. You know, just minding his own business like a brother be doing. And all of a sudden the next day you got Trump, you know, like mad, like talking about some, he shouldn't have done that. I mean, Barack, that's my cousin. Barack is like, I will slap the yellow orange off you, you know, and Trump was just acted all official. He shouldn't have done that. That's confidential information. He wasn't even saying nothing. But it made him all mad, so he had to show up and one up poor Barack, just minding his own business, having a Bud Light and a Camel, you know, playing bowling or something, just minding his own business. And then days after that, Trump's in the whole White House in front of the podium. He had to bust out the podium, even though now the podium looks like a children's little cardboard box that they made up to be a little dollhouse or something, you know. And he's out there, I'm going to make everybody the War Department. I mean, I'm sorry, but I was cracking up when he made his announcement. Until everybody can have to come in. Next thing we know, we get more little pictures. I mean, I just right here at the beginning of the video with that giant plasma storm. I guarantee, because I took a video of it before I went live. I was ready. I had it all set up and everything. The title, everything, the picture. I went Zoolander on that ass. Hold on, because that shit was funny. I'm gonna stay live tonight because nobody ever knows I'm live. I get totally, what's it called, shadow banded. I love that short now, where that one guy, he's a light-skinned dude. He's sitting in his car, and he says, Man, the car wreck, banged me up. And I'm just like, no, but I'm blackballed. And I know why. Because if I were the elite who wanted to hide the sky, I would too. I would wonder. I make fun of it. I make fun of the people because I've seen them. I see they have these places that are these boardrooms, right? These meeting rooms with the big table and everything, and the chairs, yes, and little speakers that they can see, and they all kind of lean back. They're really nice leather chairs and stuff. And they're in these big bulletproof plexiglass rooms. And there isn't just motion sensor equipment around them with big buff bodyguards with ear things at the doorways. There's also electromagnetic uh, detection. And there's somehow astral projection detection. And sound crazy? Does it sound okay? Fine, say whatever you want. But they sit around and they don't, they, you know, it's just not taken lightly. When people stand up. And they had board meetings about Skywatchers, and we're up against even worse odds than that because they have board meetings about us in hell too, or wherever the demonic realm is. Notice my lightheartedness. Well, I look and there's 4 people here, and and I know how much my channel gets squashed, and I don't mind going ahead and expressing it. It's kind of like but it only fuels my flame though, because everybody's tired, everybody's hot as fuck, everybody's wondering if their car's engine and tires are gonna melt. My car gets so hot on the way home, about a half-hour drive. In this heat, it's starting to like melt. Like everything's starting to melt. Hi, Colby. Hi, Jackie Fox. My car is just like sagging. Like it's and I certainly get out. I'll just get through the list of the symptoms because I don't have time to sit here and be manipulated or or worry about what they're applying now in the thousands of trails an hour, whether they're trying to cool the planet and stuff. My whole perspective has changed, honestly. Hi, Johnny. Time is concept made up by humans. Yeah, big time. We're in a lot of traps. We're very much, somebody thinks we're in Plato's cave, but guess what? You actually might be part of the 144,000. You actually might. No, I know. We're all led to believe that you're supposed to, be perfect and Jewish and never have, I don't know, fondled a ladybug's wings just to see if it would fly for you, and you'd have to have little braid things fucking hanging off your shit with a little cube, to remind us all of Saturn and shit, and then maybe you can be fucking rabbied out enough to, right? Bullshit. You might be part of the 144,000. Seriously. And you don't have to be all holy and righteous and all that stuff, and repentance and self, flagellation. Yeah. Be careful with that word. Flagellance is different than flatulence. But beating yourself, tithing everything you have. No, you just have to get a grip, harm no one, especially when the opportunity is afforded you, and there's a self-righteous slogan that you can wave around, and you feel justified on some stuff, and end up saying or doing something that you can't take back. If you can actually make it a day with having helped everyone around you, except for the haters, because I just got yelled at. I live in a men's group home. There's like 8 of us in this house. A new guy left, and he's big. He's mean. He could beat me up. because the anger quotient for your average homeless man these days is that of a rabid grizzly. I don't fucking know, but he left a bottle of lotion upstairs just sitting there, rightfully thinking that it would be sitting there the next time he went for it. But it's a bunch of dumbasses living in this house, myself included. I honestly try to remember that. You're a dumbass. That's my favorite song on YouTube. You're a dumbass. Bonafide, certified, square kick in the ass. Yeah, I love it because I my life has changed. I got 6 months on the 29th, having put away alcohol. And I went from being in the psych ward, my car broke down in the impound lot with no job, no hope, nowhere to go, to running heavy, huge 36,000 pound and 50,000 pound, and it's my little forklift is 16,000. But what do I do to not mess up? I remind myself, you're a dumbass. You're a dumbass. you're a dumbass. You're a dumbass. Hold on, y'all. No, it keeps me out of trouble. Hold on. You're a dumbass. You're a dumbass. Bonafide, certified, square kick in the head. You're a dumbass. You're a dumbass. Hi, Zax. No, though we will bring him up mindfully in reference to the world right now, and what is being hidden for probably a little bit longer. But a galactic sort of judgment is coming, y'all. We're in Kali Yuga right now. We're in the final stages of Kali Yuga. There's a cleansing that's coming, and I've seen, I've just seen in the astral plane that the sky at some point, relatively soon, probably in my lifetime, is going to open up like scrolls and big red fluffy cotton ball looking things that look like they're on fire that I videotape all the fucking time, that are all over my channel. Somebody even deleted, I don't know who, a good friend, got mad as shit one night about another channel. These channels that rage bait, there's actually channels that do that. And got mad because somebody mentioned my name, and they had access to my channel. They went, folks, and they deleted every video. But so what? Because what's in the sky gets closer every day, brighter, bigger. It doesn't make any difference. And again, the beta test of the fact that people suck didn't leave its claws in me, because somebody from Australia 10 years ago said, mate, no one cares about yesterday's videos. The fact that you daily go out and do it again is what makes you good. But back to somebody taking dude's lotion. He was mad. I've been here the longest. People respect me. They like me because I cut the grass. I go get toilet paper and paper towels. I try to take care of people. I help. I loan money. I drive to the store if people need something. And I shut up. And I leave people the fuck alone. But they kind of, and everybody knows that they can beat me up. So I'm the nice guy. And dude came to me a couple of days ago and said, my deodorant, my lotion. And tonight, he wasn't talking gently to me. He came in here, kicked the door open, and raged directly at me. And I said, well, hey, it happens in these houses, man. And he directed, I could feel his focus and his toroidal field and his magnetic magenta badass, because he's like real Native American. He's real dark, real huge. I don't know if he's been to prison. Doesn't make any difference. All these dudes are killers, many of them in their ways. So he says to me, so it's okay that somebody took my stuff? I said, I didn't mean it like that, man. What? You're fucking saying that it's all right, that it's justified? And then I raised my voice, even though I knew that was a dangerous step. And I said, hey, man, a couple of months ago, somebody took a $240 money order from me. I know what, And he just kept yelling at me and yelling. And I'm already exhausted. I've been working out in the heat all week. I have PTSD. I grew up with a violent father. I'm mixed, and I grew up in Cincinnati, so I've always been attacked, and I just immediately reverted back to sort of the exhaustion of the matrix, of the beta test, of the confusion, and 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 I realized, wow, man, a couple of the other guys were like, man, it wasn't personal, it wasn't directed at you, and I realized, holy shit, get your head off this table. Because you're able to be that empath that can let somebody rage a bit. He walked away. Dude said it. He was like, I'm going to fucking leave for an hour. When I get back, and hi, Anon, hi, doctor. Safety force, I know. Well, when you live, hi, Taylor. Well, Taylor, that's that's interesting, and we'll get into some things. I'm part of a bootstrap paradox. I'm part of an ontological paradox, and you probably are as well. So you're going to notice all kinds of strange synchronicities happening these days with people, with pets, with locations, especially ley lines. Places that you go where you might notice. Think about this. You'll like this. Think about the deja vus that you've had when you were a child. If you think closely, they probably happened in some kind of a grid pattern or in one spot in your yard or your favorite play area or the woods, or just think about it. There are coordinates through the timeline where unique pings happen in the sonar of the universe, and very few people, very, very few. No, I don't jork on a regular basis. Really, I avoid that kind of attachment these days. To be honest, I mean, if that's what you mean. Now, jorked might be an alien word for had some candy, but I'm just, and we don't even talk about it. It's a non-attachment. It's a non-issue. That feeling of being attacked for trying to comfort someone, when recognizing these days how it's actually a gift when someone recognizes that you're the safest one in the room, or you're the one to talk to about that. You're the one to convey the message of hurt, or being misunderstood, or being abandoned, or being wronged. And a lot of people feel that way these days. Hi, Joe. Hi, Joe. Been a while. Peace to you as well. And I'll rock that guitar in a minute. Attacked for trying to comfort, attacked for trying to wash the sky, attacked for brutal honesty, attacked for some piety, attacked for be careful of this, rewarding people these days who are still wrapped so much in self and trying to be nice, trying to be an empath. You cannot tell, even grown-ups these days. We might try getting a grip. People will flare on you. I've been in this house for 6 months. About 50 people have come and gone. Not one of them go to meetings. And I'm not saying that anybody, necessarily is doing wrong, but they certainly don't actively participate in breaking the ego. Because they can change my perception. I see so much more when I'm not judging people, while I'm taking a breath in between yelling at them or lecturing them, or trying to tell them about the sky or anything else. Nobody cares. Everybody is hypersensitive. And dude yelling and screaming earlier, as I stood there agreeing with him. I agree, man. So, that's why I mean, everything in my room. And it's unfortunate that you have to feel that way. And I get it. And when he left, I thought to myself, that's incredible that I've learned how to shut up, because I've tried to do what he did before, and I've always got 3 huge people with baseball bats standing around me. This dude, everybody shut up. His lotion's not going to shut back up. But he did, I think, leave an impression, an indelible impression that I certainly couldn't have. He did it in a brutal fashion, and I couldn't be more pleased. The Almighty did for me what I could not do for myself. Well, Jackie. Hey, folks, tremendously brutal childhood. Very, very, quite brutal. It was sort of like the Igigi. My father, one of his favorite things to do with me, especially during thunderstorms, was sort of backhand me in the nose. It was very effective at sort of getting my attention. It didn't leave bruises or anything. I just, I think I stopped developing mentally at around the age of 7. So I've always been a big kid. But I'm working on that, because nobody wants to be around a big, immature, drunk crybaby with no job, who smells like he hasn't taken a bath in a week, talking about NIBIRU is coming. Whoo, shit. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. No, it's great that he got to yell like that. People like us, we're not allowed to do that. We're held to an entirely different standard. If you're an empath, if you're a psychic, much less, containing the ability for precog or the astral plane. No. For some reason, we're held to an entirely different standard. And that's a good thing. But it requires maturity, discipline, and it's amazing how effective a weapon absolute silence can be. It is hard living with people, I know. I'm pretty good at it, though, to be honest with you. Well, no. See, even that was just so ego. That was just all ego. That was all fucking. The people love living with me. No people. They set their alarm early to wake up early with me. The epitome of the golden roommate. That's what they call it. I'm on fucking Craigslist. The golden roommate, everyone. Hi, Uncle Jazz Show. Hi. Hi, Buvan. Why younger generation is more disrespectful than your generation? Because of the attack on the father, the eternal attack on the father, which has been going on for eons. The attack, that is the vertical father, the creator. I call him the composer. He who wrote the song. Then there's the horizontal, Terran, earthly attack on the father, and families lack the father. It's starting to rain. My Nibi chair. Hold on, y'all. No, man, I can't let my little Nibi chair. No, it's fatherlessness. Vietnam and the introduction by the CIA of crack in the ghettos, or not even the ghettos, because they weren't even ghettos, in the 60s, decimated fatherhood in the United States. Because when the boys got back from Vietnam, they were ridiculed and they left home. And crack, after it was introduced by design during the civil rights movement, by the way, destroyed what used to be the father in the black community. What? I mean, that was all penciled in. That was all done by design. That stability, that leadership, that role model, you know, and I'm not gonna do a big social video on that because that's not what my channel's about. It's just fatherlessness is at the root of that, because that breaks the home apart. Moms have to become dads. You know, my father was brutal, and he left when I was 13. But I can see that was very detrimental to me, because by the time he didn't need to be so heavy-handed when I was little, but by the time I turned 13 and 14, it would have been good to have him around, and he wasn't. So I became an out-of-control little dreadlock Rasta lead singer in a reggae band at 14 years old. You know what I mean? There's nothing outstanding about not having a father around, even if they're not the best father. And these days, we're 2 generations into fatherlessness, and look at what grown-ass men are doing. People my age are behaving like fools, and they're setting the example for the younger generation, and so forth and so on. So, it is very unfortunate. Thanks, whoever sent that big-ass piece of artwork. I don't know what that was, because I'm technologically inept, but thank you. No, this is good stuff. Humility is amazing, folks. It's amazing how much joy and peace and fun and rock and roll and intimacy you can find in humility, being quiet. In the deepest sense. I'm not talking about, and I'm not even talking about with people. You thought I was talking about people? You think I'm still stuck on that? I left that 8 minutes ago. No, I'm talking about the Matrix. I'm talking about the unseen. I'm talking about Legion. I'm talking about the spirits and the principalities that are trying to engage us. Don't act like you don't know what I'm talking about. Intrusive thoughts, and suggestions of delusions of grandeur, and thinking of the ridiculous, when many of us are learning the simple focus of, I think I'll quiet not only my mouth, but even my thoughts. And do no damage today. Not need to be right about any fucking thing. With anyone. Shut the fuck up. And it's incredible what you can learn. And it's incredible once you get good at shutting the fuck up. You have this Jedi-esque power. And yeah, people, I'm noticing that there are multiple layers to being good and smart and efficient and proper and cleaned up and pull your fucking pants up, put a belt on, clean behind you, all that shit. There are layers of how fucked up people are going to be towards you and at you, but it's all superficial, because ultimately they have to respect your ass. And if you shut up long enough to let that happen, so forth and so on. I want the knife. Go ahead, say it. Somebody from India or somebody said, what? What? If you haven't seen The Golden Child, you gotta, it's an Eddie Murphy movie. Come on, everybody say it with me. I want the knife. Please. I love being American. Something doesn't want you to fucking laugh. You know? I mean, again, 6 months ago, I don't know where, what. It was cold. I'm walking down the street with like some bib overalls that I haven't put. I just got out of the psych ward. I don't know where the fuck I'm going. And all my toys and my guitar all in the back of my car in an impound lot. I don't know what in the world. Now, the other day, the boss's son was like, drop me, give me 20. He was kidding. He's 30. He's in shape. Him and his wife went to Spain about a month ago. He was showing me pictures of all the pasta Dante and stuff he likes to cook. Him and his wife, they don't have any kids yet. Him and his dad are starting, the boss and his son, warming up to me. He's like, give me 20. And I was thinking, wow. You know, and he's just talking, man, I used to do 100 push-ups a day. You know? I wonder if you can do 20 push-ups. Dropped, gave him 20. And I thought, man, that's, a lot of laborers will know what I'm talking about. Bosses don't have time or money these days to let you play on the job site and do 20 push-ups. So he paid me to get in shape. But I'm just talking about trust. And again, that comes with raising the bar. You know, it's okay to raise the bar and become the street saints, street prophets. It's good to be the returned prodigals. You might be the 144,000. I'm serious. In The Lord of the Rings, a long-expected party on page 30. Well, actually, let's go back one page. Page 29. Bilbo, of course, most of you have seen The Lord of the Rings. You've heard of it enough to know. He's having a party, and he has to, and he's deciding to leave Hobbiton. He knows he has to leave the ring, as so many of us need to, in a way. If there's a ring in your life, let it go. You know what I'm talking about, and you know what the ring is. It will only bring more destruction. And to many of you men, you know, that includes what you watch, what you expose yourself to. It really does. Society tries to teach us, oh, self-pleasuring is normal and everyone's doing it and sort of crossing the boundaries as long as it's in the privacy of your own. Sort of the church even promotes that kind of shit these days. No, folks, that's all demonic tinkering. It really is. Bilbo's getting ready. He puts on a big party. Gandalf is there. Fireworks, of course, shall be forthcoming. And after the fireworks, after the party, everyone's tucking in the corners, as it says, after the hobbits are full, and they're still nibbling on sweets and tarts, so forth, cakes. Bilbo gave a speech, but Bilbo had not finished. Seizing a horn from a youngster nearby, he blew 3 loud hoots. The noise subsided. I shall not keep you long, he cried. Cheers rose from all the assembly. I have called you all together for a purpose. Something in the way that he said that made an impression. There was almost silence, and 1 or 2 of the tooks pricked up their ears. Indeed, for 3 purposes. First of all, to tell you that I am immensely fond of you all, and that 11 years is far too short a time to live among such excellent and admirable hobbits. Tremendous outbursts of approval. I don't know half as well as you, half as well as I should like, and I like less than half of you, half as well as you deserve. This was unexpected and rather difficult. There was some scattered clapping, but most of them were trying to work it out and see if it came to a compliment. Secondly, to celebrate my birthday, cheers again, so forth and so on. Together we score 144. Together we score 144. Because he turned 111 and Frodo turned, was it? He comes of age and into his inheritance today. 33, yeah. Your numbers were chosen to fit this remarkable total. One gross, if I may use the expression. No cheers. And this is for a reason, folks, and something in the algorithm knows that I have this sort of ability to connect the dots. Because I'm, again, not saying that you're holy priests or priestesses. And I thought how proper and fitting it would be that normal people who've made a real change in their hearts are just as worthy as someone who's sat piously and taken a vow of boring silence or any other wonderful extreme measure of displaying one's true devotion to the Creator. Believe me, that is not noticed. But the average schlep on the street is just as worthy. And as much grit as many of you have in display. I bore. How's you going, your flame? Who's a flame? Bore Avalis. Do I still have my sword? The soldiers, unfortunately. No, I don't. But I still got my swords. This was ridiculous. There were no cheers, having been referred to as a gross, because hobbits didn't like that. No cheers. This was ridiculous. Many of the guests, and especially the Sackville Bagginses, were insulted, feeling sure they had only been asked to fill up the required number, like goods in a package. One gross indeed. Vulgar expression. It is also, if I may be allowed to refer to ancient history, I'm not going to go read it if you haven't. Read if you still can. Read. I thought it was interesting because now when I want to film, I want to puke. Now when I think of going live, I want to regurgitate yesterday's lunch like a dog out in the savannah somewhere, having arrived back to the... I feel ill when I think of social media even. Because a few people have told me, I don't need to say who, aside from the one who deleted all my videos, but there are a few who, from the Nibi camp, who've told me, I'm like, and just a discouraging suggestion that maybe nobody really cares. And that they certainly don't. It was fun at some point. I needed your entertaining little video, Seven. But now, when people tell me that kind of shit, I'm like, okay, no, I get it. Having lived in this house, a few months ago, there were two dudes in here who wanted to kill me. 2 or 3 or 4 of them, actually. Just didn't quite, they were institutionalized. And kind of, some of them want to actually go back to prison. They do. You're reading The Wisdom of Hypatia. Let me write that down. So I stopped eating. Because I was in fight or flight for a couple of months. Then a whole new pack of dudes moved in. And all of them are so desperate, because mostly don't have cars. And other levels of, inaccessibility to, or the lack of finance for the grocery store. I'm not sure. Varying levels of destitution and dereliction and So when they do go shop, they get 5 bags of groceries, everything that their little hearts could desire, and they cram the refrigerator. So that was too full. And again, I can't do like dude did tonight. You know, guys, let's all find. There's 8 of us, so I'm sure that we could find 8 little areas wherever. No, even that comes off as a roaring lion. As empaths, we're held to an entirely different standard, folks. It's not what we say, it's rather how we say it, how we look. You know, I'm not sure. So I really didn't eat fucking coffee and monsters. Fuck it. I don't care. I really don't care. I hate eating out. I hate fast food. You know, once a week, me and my sponsor go to this nice restaurant, a family restaurant. A few of those still actually exist. And I chow down. I didn't like it at first, folks, but I realized that my engine is shifting, like many of you. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. We're becoming sort of pentatonic. We're becoming like Indian music. We're becoming like water. We're becoming like rhythm and freedom. And the more obstacles that seem to pop up in our way, we just flow around the shit and blink, and all we see is some residue of our faith. It's incredible. We're smoking everything in our path. If you haven't fucking noticed. Hi, ABC. Hi, Abby Sinclair. Well, now necessarily, you mean restaurants? Yes. You know, and I like to cook too. So I just don't go fuck around. I don't have the money. You know, I didn't go to my favorite AA meeting last week because I didn't have the gas. And I was like, dude, you don't need to prove yourself. And you're not there for anybody else or to be seen. Go get you a honey bun. You're starving. I know, but Mjolnir's wrath. Ugh. You know, money has become God, and that is unfortunate. So let me get into my notes, because this is incredible. First off, the night of the quake in Venezuela, the sky turned red. That night, that exact night, 2 Wednesdays ago, I captured a huge red object in the sky. I think it's responsible for the heat. It's been there for 10 years. I capture, believe it or not, I capture a lot of sunsets. I'm known for it. You know, and this red object and these red skies. You know, and now Venezuela's become a beta test. What is a beta test, by the way? A beta test is actually originally called an army beta. And usually it's something that's done to people who are either illiterate, can't read, or don't speak English. That's just the tip of the iceberg of what I've learned about a beta test. It's basically taking somebody who's completely unaware of everything in terms of information, data, down to, you know, the basic essentials of comprehending even what's happening around them, and they're being exposed to something. Just to see how they tick. Is that what's happening? Over the last couple of days, there's a neighborhood in New York. I don't even know how many thousands of households that just, the grid went down. Beta test? Nemesis and Nibiru. Thank you, Mjolnir's wrath. Mjolnir's, I'm sorry. Why did I say Mjolnir? I mean, it's incredible, you know, and I don't mind being honest about my personal beta test because this, you know, I'm not going to TikTok, and and this actually YouTube, the algorithm, whatever demonic shit is in here, it makes sure that I see the dumbest channels and fucking they get hundreds of comments, hundreds and thousands of everything in terms of just communicating with people. That's it. I'm not even talking about money. I work hard. You know, I work hard for my money. I don't need no damn paycheck off social media. But I realize it's the attack on the spirit, um, and 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 so discouragement. I realize it's to keep me really from doing exactly what I just did at the beginning of the video, which is be focused on the sky, perfectly positioned, battery charged, you know, something to drink, at least half a pack of fucking smokes, and a vision of the whole sky, on time, every night, no questions asked. And when you have a little shit YouTube channel that's just reminded, the algorithm just reminds you, And when you got a couple of people who are like, hey, Seb, you know, people, by the way, are kind of, you know, a little too busy for you right now. It's like, wow. You know, and you see 3 comments on a 8-hour live video where there were a couple hundred people watching and 2 people have commented, you know, or you see a video and it says 30 comments and you see 3. That ain't got shit to do with me, finances. It's the sky. So then I realized, well, damn. So then I looked and there's, you know, some dude, black dude with crazy dreadlocks, homeless in a little camp thing. And his videos rock. And he's got fucking 20,000. And dude he's covered in tattoos, crazy braids, white dude. And his teeth are all dyed red and he spits and he's just, yo, you know what I'm saying? Man, if I spoke like that kind of black, I would get fucking beat up. But you know what I'm saying? Hey man, we're gonna hit 22K tonight, you know what I mean? For real, we about to pop this shit. Hey yo, thanks. $200 super chat, you know what I mean? This about to kick off. And he didn't even close his mouth, keep teeth like you. I'm like, fucking A, dude. So I start hating. I do. I get jealous. I'm competitive. My ego is just gone. You know, I'm justified. I'm a skywatcher, for God's sake. I literally am one of the best in the world of capturing the Nemesis NIBIRU system. And look at this fucking joker. And then I thought, wow, they're winning. They're fucking winning. Do I believe in, let me write that down, Elder Medicine Bear Claw. Sit Tanya. I don't know. I'll look it up. I mean, we're in the age of Kali Yuga. You know, and I'm perfectly positioned right here in what may have been, you know, the olden Egypt. I mean, that's a whole different video, but Serpent Mound is an hour away. I'm part Shawnee. There's something about me being here that isn't coincidence and ain't got shit to do with me letting myself get my ass whooped by some fucking numbers, because they've never liked me, and this world has never liked really mixed people, and never my family line, my mom and dad. You know, a black man and a white woman in the 60s playing music together, that shit was unheard of. There's kind of a curse. My family has put out dozens of albums between me, my mom and dad, my younger brother, me and my younger brother, my other brother. Fucking, and why? Because we don't sing songs about booty and lust and and shit like that. We, you know, our music is a little bit kind of more harkens back to the 60s and 70s where music was actually music and it wasn't all about getting laid tonight. And me being rich, of course, next to tomorrow morning. So after I don't have to go to work, we can go shopping at Saks Fifth Avenue all day and then fly to Dubai. And, you know, I mean, it's incredible music these days. It's just like, what the fuck? I mean, I like all the dancing and stuff, but I actually like that song, Saturn. Because some of the music is talking about some interesting stuff. But no, the personal beta test, our native language means Bigfoot and star people mean aliens. Well, somebody's here, but I think that it's being taken advantage of, and I'll get into that. Beta test. Kali Yuga. Back to beta test. Last week, for about 5 days, a huge meat factory somewhere out west caught fire. And the first thing I thought about was a couple of years ago when cattle, just thousands of cattle out west, had got caught in a bunch of wildfires. And I remember having gone to Kroger's 2 weeks ago and bought a big ass, what I thought was a nice juicy steak. You know, it's interesting how meat in America is not quality. It's not. When you see pictures of, you know, a nice juicy steak in like Europe, just the food here is just junk. But $30 for what I thought was a big, and it was just a gristly, gnarly piece. I mean, I ate every fucking piece of it, don't get me wrong. But I mean, that's just beta test. 65 million pounds of meat, folks. Ten fucking people. Wow. And that's because nobody gets my notifications. You know, that is the epitome of being shadow banned. And I think about it, man. Am I lying? Is it? I don't do fear. I don't do clickbait. I don't. You know, I could do a whole bunch of shit, but you know, I'm in this interesting transition where sometimes what I do want to go live about, it may harm someone, may hurt someone's feelings. It might be about personal issues. And I'm not led so much necessarily to be so touchy feely that I keep it about this guy. You know, I don't necessarily react so emotionally to geopolitical events and the climate, you know, of certain things racially and stuff. I just kind of like see it all standing back a little bit and always put it in a formula as it relates to hiding this guy from us. Exactly like they just did. And did it just rain for a minute? Yeah, it rained for like a minute. I don't know. I need to just take a break. Just give me 1 second. Because I do have to stay focused on what I'm talking about. No, because it's some bullshit. You know, channels out there just farming subs. Somebody go live for 8 hours. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Hit that like and subscribe, you know what I mean? I'm about to hit 22,000, you know what I'm saying? It's going to be some big time, you know what I mean? I'm saying, and don't say anything. And I look and they got 22,000 subscribers. You know, other channels sit there and just hate on people. Like, you know, the fatigue now that's out there, and not just on any one particular people group, but I'm like, damn, 150,000 subscribers, 1.5 million subscribers. I watch people just with channels about, one young cat just sits there the whole fucking time. Doesn't say nothing. And there's 1,000 people watching. You got 19,000 subscribers. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And it's really interesting to be that targeted and to be able to talk, to say it. Because people are like, you know, I just need to remember I'm not a main character. But there's something about the connection with being so focused on this guy and so good at it that I wonder. My whole life, you know, and yeah, part of it comes from being a twin, being biracial, being, you know, a lot of things. But I've always wondered, what is it, man, that I just do not feel like I'm exactly dealing with everything, you know, exactly set up for my success. I can't even, you know, anything wrong except thinking outside the mainstream. Well, and I get out there. I spend money on gas. I beat up my car. I make sure to get to Sunset, come hell or high water, for 10 years. And I see why all the Sky channels are gone. Half of them passed away. Some of them mysteriously. Fucking gone. Unless you're, you know, avoiding certain things. And I realize that. But the cool thing for me, and I won't feel this way after the video, by the way. I'll lose 5 subscribers. You know, nobody will comment. I honestly think people stop trying. It's not that people don't care. You know, a few really cool people, one of my subscribers blocks people. And I don't know which of you it is, or if it's the algorithm that does it, but there's a seed of distrust and dissent. You know, it's John Boy. He's a Sky Watcher. And somebody blocks him. I unblock him, and somebody blocks him again. So his feelings are hurt. And as an empath, that hurts me all the way from Tennessee or wherever he's from. Eliminating cryptid channels, cop watch channels, Sky Watch channels. Eliminating. Why would they do that? Your future isn't decided by where you fell. It's decided by whether you choose to get back up. Oh, by the way, NIBIRU, Nibi Wizard, thanks for texting me back earlier. Because you're the reason why I went live tonight. Because I just get totally discouraged. Like, wow, fuck. Man, I just spent an hour last night on a hill, you know, caught something decent. It's data. At some point, raw data from nature can only benefit mankind. So what the fuck is wrong with me doing this? And I lose subscribers. Nobody can comment. And I think, well, that's the whole point. It's not about your financial, monetary success. It's not about being popular. It's not about even some of the rather interesting, very deep philosophical things that you say. Because, and I took notes on some of the great philosophical thinkers of the world who have a newspaper right next to them, who do stay on top of current events, who do get a little bit hyped about such and this and that, and rather stay a bit excited about everything than rather get bored and lackadaisical, you know, so as to fit in. What's the one person suggested that I just kind of lay back and not do videos so much? Because that's kind of the cool thing to do. What? Because we're all feeling that sleep. I notice it. And I don't fuck with my phone at work. I don't, if I see something cool in the sky, then I'm on it. But the phone is down. I don't give a shit. It's when it comes to the sky and doing some videos. That I'll notice not just the why, fuck it, but I feel tired. Like right now, interestingly, as my mind is fighting, folks, I notice I could easily go to sleep right here, right now. And we can't blame it on CERN because they turned off, right? Fucking right? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Let me get into my notes. What is Kali Yuga? Kali Yuga basically, in essence, we're in the fourth fucking phase of some Hindu shit, y'all. Kali Yuga. Mankind has become as distant from the divine as we will ever be. We are as distant from the divine as we will ever be. My main WhatsApp channel is blocked here, and I'm not mad at you. I don't think it's you at all. Yeah, that's so fucked up. What's it called? It's just incredible. So something or someone is involved in this to make sure that I can't blame it on demons or, some make-believe algorithm. It's me somehow turning people off to me. That is fucked up. Yeah, no, and I lose subscribers constantly. And what's the matter, you channel? Oh, God, don't. And people comment, but I don't get their comments, and I don't comment back. Yeah, no, I don't fuck with channels that don't at least say hi once in 10 years of, yeah. Well, and again, folks, I'm not going to quit my day job. I don't let this shit hurt my feelings too much. It just stops me in my tracks. I don't want to film. It's a fucking 100 degrees, and I see them create the giant wall of black, and I don't want to go film. I don't jump in my car and go film. I don't give a shit. They're turning channels off, so forth and so on. But as soon as I don't go film is when my heart breaks. And it's 2 minutes away to get to a filming spot now. I noticed this sort of onset of, who cares? Like, and then sometimes I do care. Like, I'm not even going to keep blaming it on this. It goes deeper, folks. It must be, do you know that they spray us with lithium, by the way? Lithium, which is what they give schizophrenics and psychopaths to moderate their uppityness. It calms them down. What do you think it does to normal people? That's why I love that movie Serenity. And for 4 years, every time I tried to remember it on live video, I couldn't. They block certain names or phrases from us, certain time periods or certain questions that you might have. That kind of shit literally, it resonates at certain frequencies in our brains that they've got machines that are meant to wipe out. Serenity. Go watch that movie. It's badass. You know, and one of the things, I won't spoil it, but it's just the conditioning of the world. We might not sense it or know it after as long as we've been under the grimoire, the glamour of what we're under, the ongoing beta test. I mean, the meat factory, 65 million pounds, folks. You think, and I was lucky to get that cheap steak. You know, the price of meat going up is one thing, but an entire 65 million pounds gone, and it took days for all that meat, a meat storage facility, so it wasn't on the hoof. Distance from the divine. Morality is a quarter of what it was. Materialism is to a point where even I have to admit that I can't recognize it myself. But I'm a single-use plastic bottle water son of a bitch myself. Thank God I have. It's interesting how, no, I don't go around enforcing anything in this house, but everybody recycles here. And I can't recycle everything in my life. I'm just saying that I'm no better or worse than anybody. We all bear the burden, truly, of the Kali Yuga together. Unfortunately, those of us that are good and pious and pray and sort of, you know, feed the fucking pigeons, we bear as much of the burden as the worst of them. To a degree. Hi, Faye. Very good to have you here. Morality is a quarter of what it was. And there have been multiple times in the past where even the Golden Horde, even Genghis Khan had a certain moral and ethical code. Yeah. Rulers will be unreasonable, and there will be no spiritual leadership amongst the leaders of the world. No spirituality. There will be greed and wrath amongst the powerful. Humans will be openly. Humanity as a whole will openly express animosity towards Creator, or the frequency of physics that creates matter, or any number of things that are peaceful and pleasant, will be looked at with ridicule and scorn. Lust and intercourse will be promoted above anything. Drunkenness and so forth. Fornication. Again, nothing that everybody in the world is necessarily perfect from or innocent of. It's tremendous to come out of the vortex with all limbs intact and still one's spirit and soul. Monarchs will rule over the earth. And then I added my little part, and everyone will start taking tremendous interest in black holes. A society with no purpose. A society driven to money. Boy, did I jump back when I saw that. You know, I was like, and again, if you haven't noticed a common theme in my channel now, which is to recognize my own ego or pride or vanity or any of that shit, you know, to think that money doesn't rule my life. Fucking money rules my dreams. Do I have enough money for some honey buns? I dream of the gas pump these days and the specter of the... What? Dream of money all the fucking time. Wake up thinking about the shit. I don't necessarily worship it, but I'm beholden to it, which means that to a degree, I worship the shit. I'm forced to. Progress threatens to destroy the very goal that it was meant to achieve, which is a semblance of comfort, and just leave it there. Shit, 30 years of comfort and education and healthcare. But now we'll just say comfort. And the mechanism for progress. There's a man named Max Horkheimer, who was born in 1895. He was born in a prominent Jewish family. They had textile factories throughout Germany. He was from Stuttgart, Germany. And he was, of course, studying finance to step into the family role of taking care of the business, but instead he went into philosophy and sociology. And in 1930, he became the director of the Institute of Social Research in Frankfurt, Germany. He began a group called the Society of Critical Thinking, along with Erich Fromm, Walter Benjamin, Theodore Adorno, and Herbert Marcus. And they began something called critical theory, which somebody was referring to earlier, which is why this channel is dead, except to, in my opinion, some pretty specialized people. Not that you're perfect, not that anybody, I don't know what it is. It's just a frequency that we share. Critical theory. Or what my dad said, some believe half of what you see and none of what I'm not sure, being able to see through the grimoire, the delusion, the mirror. They mirror the sky, by the way, folks. If you didn't know, they fucking stack it up like the Hall of Mirrors in Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee. Think about that. Picture the Hall of Mirrors and that asshole with the claws come. I mean, there's a lensing effect going on up there, a technology that is so sophisticated that it would require, in my opinion, the AI that we're also, the vaunted AI. I think it's a big hoax to a degree. It's starting to show weaknesses in many degrees, but back to Max Horkheimer. In 1933, the Institute of Social Research in Frankfurt, Germany was shut down, of course, by the regime that was taking a death grip over Germany and would continue to do so to all of Europe. And Max left. He went to, he came to America. And he began writing two books, one called The Dialectic of Enlightenment and the other called Eclipse of Reason. And we're in the age of both of these works. The Kali Yuga. He watched as Europe collapsed into itself. The most sophisticated people of the most advanced academic disciplines engaged into the most barbaric behavior in human history to a degree. Let me repeat that. The most sophisticated people in the academic disciplines, the highest academic disciplines, turned to acts of barbarism and violence to control the entire landmass of Europe. When he moved to America, he saw that he moved from totalitarianism to American stores, open front doors, checkered floors, materialism, to a resplendent, decadent degree. And he realized that he was going from slavery to slavery. Not a regime telling people what to do here in America, but an advertisement, a billboard, a pretty picture of an ice cream cone with a blonde girl with a pretty dress on selling it. Refreshment and reception, everything being comfortable and customized, everything being just as I ordered, on time. Or it's free and I get 2 of them. I'm allowed to display my displeasure and my anger at, but that's in the fine print on the back of the billboard now, of course, and that's in, in the 1930s. It's a whole different thing now, but blind compliance. And that's where I was glad to refer to 144,000 tonight. I didn't put it in the title because I refused to submit to clickbait or the power of suggestion or using catchy one-liners or any of that bullshit. And and I don't necessarily care. There might be a couple different kind of 144,000s. But point in fact, you're critical thinkers. And there might only be 144,000 super serious critical thinkers in our degree who like the Care Bears. And there might be 144. I don't like absolutes. Only Sith speak in fucking absolutes. And I can't stand them. Nor do I like division or exclusivity. I'm mixed. All of those things are anathema to me. So we had a record-breaking day on the stock market, I heard yesterday. Isn't that fantastic? Boy, when I used to hear news like that, it was natural to consider that wealth would be spread out evenly amongst the populace and that there would be a equal distribution of the wealth, which is what an open, fair economy thrives off of. And that's not the case, folks. These people know that Nemesis is coming. And what's happened what's happening right now all over the world, in Spain, 111 degrees. Here it's been 107. It's been hotter than most places. It's been just as hot here in Cincinnati as anywhere in the world. They're just not reporting the news exactly. And people here are used to it. I don't know. 107 degrees is where they topped it off officially, honestly, this last week in Cincinnati. What's happening in other parts of the world is, from what I understand, much worse. 120? I might not think that extra 5 degrees or 2 degrees or 10 degrees might make a difference. And I have to admit, 107 degrees. And I have to admit, yesterday, after being out in it all week, it started to do something strange. It's been doing something strange to me. I started just to not think. I felt sick and I didn't eat. I had no appetite. Of course, I just found out that my mother had passed. That might have had something to do with it. But it was getting unbearable. I could barely stand being out in it today. There's 19 people. I mean, it helps to be, it's interesting to be the captain, to be a sky watcher, and just to be honest about how much this platform suffers. You know, I mean, I literally feel like the Beast out of Beauty and the Beast or something. I feel like I do something wrong, and I don't. There are channels out there now, just on the, and the algorithm is sure to let me see them. And I realize there's nothing wrong with dude. There's nothing wrong with people having a lot of folks who might very much be able to relate to exactly what they're going through. There's a lot of people who like everything about this man, this woman, the scenario, the backdrop, the music, the whole vibe. Seven. And you are not even practicing what you preach, man. You're turning into a little golem. Fucking social media. I'm one of the few people who somehow gets that sky. And I'm going to turn into a little golem, a little butthurt, little jealous hater. I'm going to sit there and what? If somebody has tattoos or some shit? Or is homeless? No, and it's great to afford myself being human and noticing, competition and stuff, but just to quickly get a grip on it, because it's not about me. The yeah, I mean, people are frustrated. The power outages in New York, I couldn't believe that. I was just like, what? So let me move on to something that I noticed yesterday at work. Sent a star. Ooh, we all love stars. Folks, I know this is going to sound really strange, but the meteorologists and the news people, even when they lie, in my opinion, about the jet stream. Hi, Eva Watson. Hi, Eva Watson. What jet stream? And we know that if there is any semblance of the oceans moving like they do normally, then that's above my pay grade. But when it comes to the weather, the jet stream, the natural motion of the clouds and the moisture and the weather moving from west, which I'm naturally pointing at just because I'm such a sky watching nerd that I can't help but naturally know, even in an enclosed environment, which direction north is in. I can feel it. I mean, west, I'm sorry. The weather doesn't move across the sky like that anymore. I digress. It does, because I just filmed it doing it. Whatever that storm was, that plasmatic interaction, and now the rain. It did move across the sky, but there's something that seems to move from the east to the west often. And it's not our normal weather. It's not, say, 4,000 feet to cruising altitude. It's way higher up, and it travels from east to west, and it travels with the sun. I'm not sure if it's exactly on the elliptic plane, ecliptic, but it does move from east to west. It progresses with the sun, and that's what's being hidden. Prideless chicks. Thank you, because the name of Jesus, that name of, in many ways, is above all names. And it's not because I was taught that in childhood or the Bible school or anything. I never heard any of that. There wasn't a Bible in my house growing up. My father, Jesus Christ, God damn it, with an ass whooping. That was it. But I saw him when I was 7 years old, after my daddy got me with a coat hanger. And I'm not talking about the abuse. I'm way over that shit. He's in heaven now. I forgive him. I'm talking about the pain, that much heat, being that close to something that felt like a star. It was that quick. And I think that opened a portal to me, because all of a sudden I saw this man walking in the desert with sandals on. His feet hurt. He was alone, a man of sorrows. And he was counting my tears. But he was also counting my father's tears. And he was counting every other person who'd suffered or was causing suffering. He was counting every tear. I saw him. And I've never forgotten. I forgot that day. I moved on through life. Not until I started watching the sky did I remember. So much of what happened in our childhoods, I believe, for so many of us, is suppressed, and we don't even remember. Real people are going to start facing the ultimate test right now. By the way, in mentioning CERN, 2 weeks ago, over the last couple of weeks, having filmed Nemesis at least twice, even as it was cloaked and hidden and being obscured, it's made me realize maybe CERN is trying to move us away from what's coming. Maybe I'm finding enemies everywhere. And maybe, just like in some of the movies, the powers that be aren't trying to necessarily destroy humanity so that they can all have cocktails on the underground veranda with the simulated skyscape in front. Maybe we're fucked. And just like in the movie 2012, it isn't like the people who built the couple of arcs in China in the Himalayas or wherever the fuck that was. That was a good movie, but that was a badass, But it's not like they hate humanity. It's just that the arc is going to contain intellectuals, physicists, people who deal with, I don't know, just like the 17 plus physicists and nuclear physicists and quantum badasses. And, Amy Eckhart alone is worth her own fucking arc. They're all being scooped up right now. All this is happening right now. This summer heat kind of exploded on the fucking planet. These earthquakes, just sort of like this is some abrupt shit. 65 million pounds of meat. It's a lot of fucking meat to just go up in flames all of a sudden. It just all seems to be, beta test after beta test after beta test. I deliberated with myself whether to talk about this. But, in Venezuela, this just might not exactly be coincidence. That's all I'm saying. I mean, think about it. In the back of your minds, with how diabolical, sinister, and technologically badass the world's elite are getting. These Kali Yuga promoters. First, America goes into a sovereign country, kidnaps their leader, all to enforce this strange. But now we've engaged in a war with Iran, which actually represents sort of ancient Persia and the cyclical repetition of history, strangely enough. But now, we're engaged in over 200 armed conflicts all over the world, be they clandestine or open. America seems to be on this rampaging Judeo-Christian Zionist fucking golden horde mode of their own, like a horde of locusts unleashed on the world while there's earthquakes, while the weather's getting strange, so forth and so on. It all seems very strange, almost planned, does it not? Even when many of us, especially those Gen Xers, for instance, when we were kids, we just knew that, I gave it time. I'm 7 years old, like I just 30, 40 years. By the time I'm older, the smart people will have figured out how to purify water for everybody and, get back to fucking hang drying your clothes. Just package it and make it sexy and market it and fucking put a cool jingle with it and everybody will get back to hanging their clothes outside. As hot as it is, put the shit outside, 2 minutes, dry. But no, here we are in self-destruct mode. That's on purpose, and that's because these people who are in control of the world, folks, they know Nemesis is coming. I realize they're I can't, I've had to redo my whole losing my fucking whole perspective has changed because I don't see really the point, and if from what I've seen this guy a couple times, and I hate being the bearer of bad burnt biscuits and popcorn, but it's gonna get fucking hot. like I just, back to my notes. Who cares about black holes? Well, no, okay, yes. Wow, the composer just spoke to me. I don't know who he is. So I have the guts to bring up Nemesis, and we all know it's getting hot. The concept of a second sun, that is what the big channels don't say much less trying to hide it. They don't ever talk about that. But that's just gloom and doom, and I don't like doom and gloom. If I was just to focus on doom and gloom and get a little better on computers, I think again my channel all of a sudden would do well. It's the fact that there's something about the feathers. There's something about the astral plane. There's something about having seen Nemesis when I was 10 years old for a week in a waking nightmare. My whole family knew I was sleepwalking again. There's something about the fact that people like us, have seen the open doors. I filmed one tonight in the sky, like a big black cube. I didn't post it because I got, again, sleepy. Didn't think anybody would care. Somebody somehow is able to turn off the click of the spontaneous or the romantic. When's the last time you got a rose, guys? And your girlfriend, well, most of us don't have girlfriends or boyfriends because it's a world of fucking single, miserable people, really. Nobody dates anymore. Just in a way, no, seriously, we need to talk about this kind of shit. But when's the last time you got a rose? put on some fucking Spanish music and picked up a guitar, even though you can't play. You don't have to play one. Just mi amor. You know, I made your girlfriend giggle her ass off. Like, you're stupid. But you at least, you know, no, we don't, nobody does that shit anymore. Doom, gloom, you know, there's something about frequency, music, water, love, flowers, plants, live chickens, relationships, the fact that dogs now smile and cats fucking talk. It's in the minutia of things. There's a couple of different kind of ladybug species now that nobody wants to talk about. There's yellow ones in Cincinnati. They don't talk about that. Species are changing. You know, the human capacity for adaptability, the fact that we may actually have a place under our shoulder wings shoulder blades for wings. I haven't forgotten about the magical. Something wants me to completely abandon the metaphysical sort of approach that I've taken to this. But even having seen what I think may be the biblical destroyer, the dragon of myth and legend, the sort of, you know, I can't help but think, well, yeah, but hold on this. You know, I mean, I even considered yesterday at work, well, all of a sudden, what am I going to do? I'm going to actually applaud sort of the manipulation of the atmosphere, the weather, the sky, the water, everything, because actually the powers that be are trying to protect us from becoming crispy, a well done planet. They're actually working on our behalf. Sev, happy birthday, Mary. Hi, we be gone. Priceless. No, what I'm saying is that as skeptical as I am, even of myself, like, I abandon all my witty observations. Like, I don't trust myself. I'm just good at a lot of. I can, you know, I can speak clearly, but I don't, you know, a whole lot of magic and shit, really evidence of any of that going on. And yet, is there not? For instance, there's never any earthquakes or any bad weather here in Cincinnati. Why? Well, Procter and Gamble and General Electric are located right here in Cincinnati, Ohio, and there's never any bad weather or earthquakes. Mark Twain said it, that Cincinnati's recession proof. But I kind of wonder, well, why is it bad weather proof, or, you know? And I thought, damn, Sev, no wonder they fuck with your channel. You know, President Ford said it after Kennedy had been assassinated. He who controls the weather controls the world. And I thought, well, who controls the world? General Electric and Procter and Gamble are two of the top fucking 10. And there's never an earthquake here. There's never really too much of anything in this place. Ohio, Cincinnati is very much part of the crossroads and the jugular and the main artery of the United States in many ways, but I thought there's got to be a magical, strange connection. And there probably is. Facing the ultimate test. Why does it entail sometimes being attacked for trying to comfort people? I don't know. There's got to be a hardcore, mean biker who's beat a few people up, or, a couple of roughnecks in my audience. But I have a feeling that the majority of you are probably either super empaths or, like me, dark empaths. We have a natural tendency towards peace. Oftentimes it unfortunately has come with a lot of experience with being bullied and being harassed and so forth, so we don't do it. We shy away from hurting people. But I think it's part of the main test right now. If you can really avoid arguing with idiots and or retaliating against people, then you're on more than the right path. And back to my feelings of Kali Yuga, back to feelings of being insufficient or whatever, it doesn't make any difference. It's superseded by the fact that, like me, most of you watch the sky, have some semblance of faith in any degree, from any part of the world, in any capacity, in any religion. You have a higher sense of your higher vibration and higher frequency, which has nothing to do with or jihad or superiority or a flag or a cross. It has nothing to do with that. Shit, if you're anything like me, you can hear the fucking heavenlies. Raise your hand or put a thumb up or in some way acknowledge. If, let's just say, I recognize that there's some of you who are already way ahead of me in terms of your frequency, your ability to communicate with something way outside, and you have your whole life. Who of you senses that even after years of conditioning and being bludgeoned upside the head by this fake ass world, that you've always been in touch with something higher? It'll also help me see how long the lag is here. If there is one, I'm just curious. Personal beta test, Army beta. Illiterate or don't read or don't understand the language that they're being tested in. And then I wrote down bootstrap paradox, an ontological paradox. A person or a place or information that's trapped in an infinite time loop, a casual loop as they call it, meaning one that it's nondescript enough to not create a rip in the space-time continuum, because those rips are being created. Again, do any of you feel them? I think they're happening fucking all the time. I can feel the fabric of reality. Again, now that I've seen Nemesis come face to face with that big red whatever it is, I don't necessarily want to spit out so many quantum terms and long literary litanies and sound so fucking smart. And is it the space time continuum? I don't know. I watched a lot of Star Trek when I was a kid. You know, the paradox of talking about a bootstrap paradox. When today I went to my sponsors, he called me early today and said, I'm giving a lead today at noon at the oldest AA clubhouse in the country, actually, here in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's called Oak Street. And during his lead, he spoke about pulling yourself up by both bootstraps. It's kind of impossible to pull yourself up alone. You need help. And then I come home and I start studying a bootstrap paradox, and I realize that the term actually comes from the concept of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. And I realized, well, there's another synchronicity. The Police song Synchronicity. That's it. That's a bad song right there. Dark Scottish Lake. I mean, that's twice today where I've experienced little breaks in the fabric of what we call now reality. And my perspective has changed. Because, boy, social media, YouTube, spooky little conspiracy channels, we love to talk about CERN when we don't really know what CERN's doing. And the Shiva statue, ain't nothing wrong with Shiva. I'm telling you, we're in some Kali Yuga, and there's transformation and change coming. Shifting a little bit from, again, so much metaphysical and in the Bhagavad Gita and all that, and in the Vedic text they talk about the blue people. Who cares? I've seen Shiva twice. She got sharp teeth. Other than that, she's smoking hot. But we don't really know if the powers that be are truly trying to save humanity. And when it comes to a paradox, I'm glad that I was able to research that a little bit. Because there have been some people who've asked, how do super intelligent people like Einstein come along, once in a lifetime? How do they get downloaded that information that actually was critical to the progress, again, that ever-destructive progress that humanity is making in terms of science and technology? Was that planted in that man's mind? Along with Tesla, for instance. I've seen the History Channel and Ancient Aliens. That guy's voice, as ancient alien people believe. Was Einstein downloaded by ancient alien? I don't know. But to a degree, one has to consider that certain concepts do cycle through humanity, and I can't help but consider that part of the evidence of being in the end of the Kali Yuga, and that this hunt for technology has been along, with this spiritual war that's been going on forever. The attack on the father, the slow disintegration of humanity's attachment to the divine, so forth and so on. It's all been planned methodically. Somebody's been very patient because they needed schools and institutions and students. They've needed wars. They've needed progress. They've needed to break shit down and fix stuff. They need they especially need engineers, chemical engineers, biological engineers. They need P&G. They need GE. They need chemicals. They need plastic. They need people to look at shit under microscopes. And they need people to blow shit up. They need people to shrink shit down. They need people to freeze stuff, fry stuff, bully stuff, bludgeon stuff, build stuff, break it down. They need to smash stuff, tear stuff, rip stuff, fabricate stuff, formulate stuff, pick stuff, prod stuff, kill stuff, bring it back to life. They need to fucking do it all to end up at CERN. They need to find, and now mankind is obsolete. They finally, after all these years, from Newton to fucking Plato to Aristotle to all, they needed all these wars. World War II had to have that so that Procter and Gamble and General Electric could figure out certain chemical components that since then have sort of helped spearhead the fucking World War I and II. Just had to happen for these people, folks. They make this shit happen. I mean, one of the first times I was ever exposed to the concept of the Illuminati was actually in a Batman movie with Christian Bale, the first one, Batman Returns. That was a badass movie, even though I don't like him. I heard him praise Satan. I think his last name is Evidence, whatever. But the character Ra's al Ghul, who is another Hollywooder, his wife died mysteriously. What's dude's name? Oh. Well, anyhow, he said it during the movie. He's like, who do you think burned Rome to the ground? Who do you think made sure that the fleas infected with the Black Plague got onto the boats that went to Europe? Who burned New York? By the way, do you know that the night that Chicago, the night that Chicago burned to the ground, do you know that hundreds of other cities, I believe all over the country, if I'm not mistaken, on that same night or around the same time, and then that harkens back to the old world, the flood, the world fairs, so forth and so on. I mean, and now they're hyping the technology. I'm glad I took notes because I'm kind of in a good flow tonight. I'm having fun. This is one of those few moments where, not I'm at peace. I mean, I've been at peace for a while now, but where I'm not trusting my first thought, which is nobody cares anymore. It's strange. It's definitely Kali Yuga. It's evidence of some kind of a spiritual warfare, in my opinion, and being aided and abetted by some kind of technology that must be a bit more complicated and complex than necessarily. That is what I know that they mean. That I don't know who this is. It must be deeper than just spraying us with lithium or frequencies coming from HARP, or I'm not sure. You will repeatedly hear me now refer to the fact that there must be technologies at play that not even YouTube can sit there and channels can play on, a sort of crowd control. And yet, have we not already been told about it? Because they supposedly deployed this kind of technology during the first Gulf War. Yeah, crowd fucking control. Ah! Calm down, Seven. Do not start cussing and screaming and yelling. You're over theatrics. People are right to a degree, by the way. My friends who are kind of helping shape me, and I'm not in any way putting them down, folks. And they're right, just over theatrical son of a bitch, calm down. I just get hyped as they're hyping the tech and creating the illusion now of a global possible takeover of technology. And I've even fed into it because when I'm at the grocery store and I see, a robot that's counting all of the produce, I realize that the grocery store of the future that wants to be competitive is going to have everything perfectly barcoded, everything much more uniformly packaged, not loose, in much more environmentally unfriendly shit, by the way. Perfect. So that something can roll by and just broadly scan the whole aisle in a thousandth of a second and have everything inventoried in a thousandth of a second and not need a human being to take an 8-hour shift to inventory everything that just got inventoried in a thousandth of a second. Because that motherfucker can roll up at the end of that aisle and everything in that aisle that has a barcode, it doesn't have to go in front of them. Nothing. They can do the whole section. Bye-bye job. I mean, it's not funny. It's not funny at all. But does that mean that this shit's going to come kill us all? I don't know. If we give it that much fear, it will. It'll be the algorithm learning from all of us and come big-ass robot Terminator. I've got to kill everything in this house. Why? Why you got to kill? Because that's all you talk about on YouTube. How ironic. Hi, Ronald. Because that's another part of the strange spiritual sort of environment, with everything happening right now in terms of power and the people pulling the plugs on things is predetermined, sort of predestination. Serenity. Go watch it. Try to find it. It's a movie where, again, timelines or destiny versus fate or entire populations being, slowly but inexorably manipulated in certain ways. Notwithstanding chemical or biological or psychological it goes deep. I mean, hiding that sky tonight took a lot of work, and I have to pull myself away from that sometimes, and I see that there must be technology involved, and I see that there's this hyping of technology, this sort of creation where now I see, for instance, an AI in a reggae song, and some of it's interesting. The beats are neat. I got to admit, AI likes fucking roots rock reggae. It likes dub. And I'm like, damn, that shit rocks. And the vocals, sometimes it's not even vocals, which is cool because AI can't really sing its ass off yet. I think it's very interesting. It's going to be a while before it can. But how does it know to make that music, that fun? I can't listen to too much of it. It's interesting. I can't really. you know, but I naturally recoil from snakes, even a little harmless fucking garter snake. When I'm not noticing, when I don't know it's there and I see it as I'm landscaping, I've been outside landscaping and shit for 30 years. I'm pruning shit and it's hot. I'm bitching and complaining. You see a snake and like a little girl, I jump. I defy gravity. You know, I ain't got hops, but all of a sudden I'm 8 feet in the air. It's my natural instinct to scream like a 5-year-old and to leap somehow like a cat. And then I realize that it's not going to bite me. It's the same thing with AI. I recoil from it. You know, I'm interested a little bit, but I'm like, damn. And I just turn the shit off. It holds no interest. Scared of werewolves? That's a stupid fucking question. Do you worship Baal? Hold on, let me get my Bible. No. If not, why? Well, I mean, it's a fair question and all. But it's kind of boring. So, yeah, get the smartest technology and build it all. And I can't help but have a distinct feeling that this has probably been done before on planet Earth by humans. And it's something really wanted to recapture the glory of, you know, not even the golden ages, because that sounded like chariots and fleeces and really cool arrows and some neat shit. I can tell you that the story of Jack and the Beanstalk, folks, is probably older than the pyramids. Most people don't know that. The story of some kind of a portal or some kind of an entrance into another world. The story of Jack and the Beanstalk, it goes sort of something like this. Jack lives with his mom, and they're poor, and they have a cow, so they've at least got milk, I guess. It's kind of an old cow, and they're poor, and Jack is supposed to go sell the cow at town and bring the money back to his mom so they can have some food. But some shyster convinces Jack to sell him the cow for 3 seeds. He goes back home and his mom throws him out the window. She's pissed off. They go to bed hungry that night. They could have at least ate the beans. And it grows into a big stalk that goes into the clouds, and he climbs it. He finds this castle with all this magical stuff in it and goes and takes a bag of gold that it always refills itself. And then he takes a harp that like sings, and then a chicken that lays golden eggs, and left lane rider. Do I white pass? Yes, I can be referred to as passing for white. I'm mixed. I mean, I'm black actually, but I definitely am passing for white. I'm learning that I don't have to be ashamed of my mixedness, nor do I have to avoid it or not talk about it so I don't offend anyone or piss anyone off while I'm in the hood, you know. Just sort of just be quiet. Shut the fuck up. But the story, though it sounds like a children's tale, is actually been translated and it does come from England. It's just an ancient story, and it is a story of a man breaching a dimension, gaining access to some place somewhere, being afforded an opportunity to take technology or treasure or something beyond this world. And believe me, do the research. You'll be blown away. Like, wow, man, this guy knows his shit. Because I do, typically, know my shit. And it's not about dumb shit, you know. And yet I have to remember that sometimes that's some of the most relaxing stuff, man. It's just people just, you know, I need to, and just shut the fuck up, man. Let it ride. Don't let something that you know can take advantage of your ego to any degree and twist it, because you won't go film the sky. You'll base all that off of what everybody can understand you would naturally humanly do. It costs gas and it's and time and energy, and I'm not going to put my time and energy into something that nobody gives a shit about, because that's not what's happening. There's a whole mind fuck, and there's no cute scientific way. All the super Christians and people who 7 years, I was watching your channel until you said that. Go fuck yourself. You know, you can't say it in any cute scientific way that's going to be accepted or accredited by the establishment. There is a demonic mindfuck going on right now, the likes of which mankind has never experienced before, and which is a culmination of all the mindfucks put together. And very few of us can not only see through it, not only walk through it and survive it. You can't necessarily say thrive, because that's a matter of fucking perspective and diet. But to be able to have fun, to be able to actually rock the Casbah as I talk it, to be able to actually be nurtured by proximity and closeness and communication with other people, and even if not, to make sure, again, that you at least haven't done any damage, and that maybe you've helped affect a change in somebody's life, even if it means, you know, dealing with their hurt. Now this is a repeat in a way. I don't like being anybody's pawn, but Kali Yuga. It's supposed to cool off this week in Cincinnati, but I'd be a fool to not think that this heat isn't coming back. You know, and I was able to endure 4 or 5 days of it, but let me say 5 days of it. But by yesterday, no, and it's not the heat, it's the direct sun. That's what's so unfair about it. Having 4 different numbers, 4 different indices for the temperature and the heat, when it's just that direct sunlight is just a whole different beast. Hold on, let me go grab it. Mocha real quick. Well, and make myself some coffee. I'll be right back. Just a quick intermission. I can go get some shit. No, I'm proud of myself for saying it too. Because I don't care. I mean, that just must be reason upon reason upon reason upon reason why YouTube hates. Or not even YouTube, just something in the airwaves. Because I don't give a fuck. There's something great to be able to recognize. Probably for thousands of years, there's been a plan by somebody or something here on this earth that is like, keep them hungry, keep them starved, most of them, keep them fighting, keep them focused on religion, division, blah, 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 blah. But now there's a special point in history where you've got mega wealthy millionaires and billionaires who are creating more millionaires and billionaires quickly, and they're all getting sick of Dubai because it's getting too fucking hot. And they're all gaining access to certain technologies that we all don't get, and it's starting to turn 100 and something degrees. And by next year, it's going to be a lot hotter. Like, it's obvious that something's going on. The U.S. and and NATO and Israel are all up to some weird demonic powerful shit, and they got super shit now where they'll blow everybody up super because they're doing it. And it's just obvious that we're at the final phase of the super plan that's been going on for thousands of years probably. And they can't hide it much longer. And where do we fit in? Because you're not all sky watchers, nor is everybody, a biblical scholar, or anything like that, So let me keep on with my notes. That's interesting how I asked the question a minute ago. Who has had the sense of magic throughout their life? Put a thumbs up or some kind of acknowledgement, and not fucking one person did. Did any of you see that part of the video? That's really strange. Let me see. No, nobody did. No, I'm not from England, though my grandmother was from Cashapp, New England, and she spoke with a British accent. Therefore, I've acquired one. Also, I've read The Lord of the Rings about 95 times, and The Silmarillion, and The Hobbit. I can quote anything Tolkien, forward and backwards. Therefore, I'm able to somehow, with some degree of success, replicate a British, slightly aristocratic accent. Well, thank you, real Gary Busy guy. Thank you. Thank you. People probably aren't watching. That's the tremendous ability for me to sort of Charlie in the Wonka factory, to sort of Alice in Wonderland way my way through the what unfortunately is going on with so many people. I'm not the only one. Who cares about black holes? Why, I wonder, all of a sudden, is there this tremendous push? By the way, my feed isn't unique in the world, or else it would be just Care Bears. And thanks, left, just Care Bears and predation in Africa. But it's not, because I think that I represent probably a wide demographic. Middle-aged, single, bored, and boring blue-collar schlep who dreams of blue aliens and, so forth and so on. the healing of the nation through, some altruistic, light source from beyond, whatever. But my feed, I think, probably again is representative of a broader audience, uh, where people have to see that the new CRX Model 50 car is going to help take you to where you can see an alien out in the woods, to where your Dorito chips might get caught up in a tractor beam from a small flying saucer outside of the window. Or from where the concern of black holes and the interest in them all of a sudden is so uh, in need of explanation. Why? And why would there be language in reference to the shape of our universe indicating just why? Because why are these far-fetched notions being presented to us when is it of any consequence? Furthermore, when it comes to the concept of Nemesis coming, I keep thinking, and I haven't mentioned it, but I keep thinking about Bran Cox, Neil Tyson DeGrasse, and Kukio, and the fact that Bran Cox, in particular, who used to talk about two suns, now is sort of the stegophone, the megaphone for cosmic distances, how huge and unfathomable space is. I mean, they're really pushing that. Black holes, how ridiculous it is to ever conceive of any kind of interstellar travel, even from otherworldly beings. It's interesting now how the whole concept of travel through space seems to have changed overnight. How the James Webb Telescope seems to have found the edge of the universe overnight. How they can see billions of light years into space, of course, back in time, overnight. How they had the answer to almost everything overnight, but how big it is. Yes, I'll try to, yes, he wants me to specify a bit more. How it seems to be that they're pushing the concept of space being almost a waste of time to try to, in any way, possibly engage in, even with your imagination. And I keep wondering, is that because they don't want anybody to quantum entangle with, vis-a-vis run into what I think might be drawing closer to Earth? Thor, the Care Bears, the Kingdom of Heaven, I would like to say, but I don't want to try to be too serious because it'll become a religious argument on how to pronounce whether Jesus or Yeshua. Or whether there was a fucking J or it was an I. Some essence of goodness that I believe is wants to come close to Earth. Furthermore, and it's great how I stumble over all of my philosophical sort of intellectualization of my ideas, as fun as many of them are, and I run into the foolish and ridiculous of this, how interestingly comical it must sound at times, and yet, what is the evidence that the Anunnaki may be returning, that the creators of our species might be returning? What if Nemesis is dragging potentially 6, or from what I've heard, 7 other objects and moons with it, one of which may be an object, a planet, a sphere, a realm from whence our progenitors. Hearken from and are returning. What if? Because I'm telling you, I am hard on myself. I do think I sound ridiculous a lot of times. I am keenly aware of, thank you everyone, that you garbage in, garbage out. If I watch YouTube, then I'm exposing myself to, so much that I might believe, whatever. I may even believe now that the powers that be are truly, genuinely concerned, not necessarily with me as an individual, but with our species and our survival. So instead of putting my energy towards hating on what I don't understand, like NASA or any of that, maybe I should sit back and consider how hot it's getting and how they may very well be trying to shield us as best they can from what's coming. Furthermore, again, in reference to the entire lane change that Brian Cox has done, I'm pretty sure that he's been guaranteed a spot in a bunker because he's going to be of the intellectual elite that would be selected to help carry on our species. I just, folks, I'm sorry. After what I saw, just go back and watch my short from 2 Wednesdays ago. What I captured in the sky that night, and I didn't even really film it. But to the last minute, something was controlling. I don't even know how to fucking describe it. Yeah. I mean, maybe it's a survival tactic for me. And I heard my sponsor say it today during his lead. And he was a teacher and worked at Prospect House for 30 years here in Cincinnati. He's faculty in a lot of very important institutions that help people off the streets and off of what gets them on the streets. Very intelligent man. He used to teach at a local college. And when he was a kid, he found his escape in books, as so many people have. The imagination. And it seems as if much of what is in books and tickles our imaginations is coming alive in the world, and how to wrap our minds around it and to maintain the belief in the pure, the magical, the essentially good, It's difficult. I saw Nemesis burning through the clouds. I thought about how hot it was going to get. It's gotten that hot. I still consider an unseen object or objects or realm or dimension that's burning through. And I stopped thinking about my fantasy. I joke, of course, Care Bears or kingdoms of heaven. And all I could think about was heat and thirst. Then I started hating YouTube and took a step back for a minute, considered deeply that I didn't believe in, I was starting to really question my faith, And then I did a little bit more digging into Nemesis and everything that we're experiencing. And even having started the video with a sky full of plasma of 3 or 4 different colors. Where isn't the magic? Or where can't it be found? In people like us, I believe there is a responsibility to create it when it's in shortage. When there's no magic around, be the magic. Because I'm telling you, we're conduits. We collect energy around us, and it's been negative so much of our lives that we might as well focus on it being good, or at least productive, beneficial in some way, educational. I'm exhausted. I'll admit it. And they're oh so good at hiding exactly what it is that I'm passionate about, the sky. And yet, every couple of days, it burns through more and more and more. As I hope my ego deflates more and more and more. And I reflect and speak, hopefully, what makes a little bit of sense in this world where nothing seems to really make sense anymore at all. Except that real people will face the ultimate test. And somehow we're being protected. At least up to this point, hitherto. Hopefully money hasn't become your god. Hopefully you're not being attacked for trying to comfort people. And if you are, you'll be able to absorb the punches, proverbially speaking. I'm going to pray. Heavenly Composer and Creator, please protect us all. Thank you that we're maintaining our dignity and our composure. Thank you that you're teaching us to be quiet, to no longer engage in being the crushing cacophony of confusion and calamity, that we can just allow peace, allow ourselves to be still. I pray for my whole family, and especially my twin sister, who was very close to my mom up to the end. And I pray for just everybody now. And I know that my mom's in that higher place with frequency and music. She probably motivates me to do just that, to look more to the light and not to worry so much about the heat. I pray for all the people in the world right now being affected, especially by just that. And I pray that through all the fire and flame, that I thank you that I can see the end of Kali Yuga, because it's about time that all this excess and all this unnecessary worldliness be burned off. In Jesus' name, Selah. I hope you all find peace tonight or today or this morning or this afternoon, wherever you are. And thank you that you understand. You understand that at least one of us, and many of us probably, aren't here for ego or much else but the truth. That's it.